Mr. Borgo, and I think just a big thanks to Seri and Kels for the work that they've been doing with the families and communities. It's not an easy sort of case to be involved in, and it's probably going to extend for, people say April, but we suspect that it's going to be another year. And some of the affirmation that both Seri and Kels has got from the families, I think is just a lesson for how strong our civil society is, and while there's two very different trajectories going on in Khayelitsha and Rustenburg, there's a lot of common themes. So this was a commission that was set up by the president in response to one of the worst massacres. You can't say that on SABC, by the way, massacre, but you can say it on ETV or any other independent media. So we'll just say massacre a few times for that. But the trajectory of, or what people know about Americana has really been about the legal fees and the legal fees battles, and that's really, I think, detracted from the real issues of collusion and what's quite sinister, from harassment of witnesses and assassination and evidence tampering, etc. And it's the work really of Kels and Seri that have exposed all of that. And you know what's interesting is also that the most important and valuable work that's been done in Marikana has been funded by donors, not by public money, not by government, not by the private sector, not by Legal Aid South Africa either. Legal Aid South Africa has funded some parts of it, but a lot of the work of Seri and Kels has actually been funded by international and by local donors. So then moving on to Khayelitsha, again a very different trajectory, a commission that was established because of the pressure and momentum put by a number of organizations working for safer communities in Khayelitsha, a commission that both the Premier was forced to establish and the Minister of Police now has to kind of deal with. And similarly, again, that commission was, you know, the key issue was the Minister's interdict and trying to prevent the Commission of Inquiry, which is headed by Justice O'Regan, former judge of the Constitutional Court. So again, the legal process and our courts being used for very sort of purposes which would mean that the truth or relationships could not be explored. And again, in that sort of trajectory, the role of the Minister of Police and the role of the Commissioner is something that is being lost, I think, in a lot of the issues that's coming to the fore. So just to explain to you how we move from Marikana to Khayelitsha, we now have X.
Thank you. You almost took my points there, my speech. Good afternoon. I think as Fatima has said, there are some similarities with the two commissions and some differences as well. One is that they were both established in August 2012. That's one of the similarities. But the Khayelitsha Commission is more focused on the daily role of police, the daily policing, the daily issues that the people of Khayelitsha and other informal settlements face. And it's been coming for a long time. It's through more than 10 years of activism, which was started by the Treatment Action Campaign, and later taken by or led by the SJC, the Social Justice Coalition, with TEC, with Equal Education, Tefuna Ukwazi, and the Triangle Project. And it's simply looking at one of the constitutional duties of the police, which is to prevent, to combat, and investigate crime, to maintain public order and protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic, and in this case, mostly the inhabitants of Khayelitsha, the poor and working class, mostly of people who live in Khayelitsha. And it's said that it had to go through the High Court and the Constitutional Court when the Minister and the National Commissioner challenged it, saying that it was irrational, it was unlawful, and they didn't want the Commission to have subpoena the police to bring evidence. As the Constitutional Court said, what is a commission without subpoenas? That's clearly not a commission. It was, one of the things that was cited in the complaint that was given to the Premier of the Western Cape was to investigate the widespread inefficiencies, apathy, incompetence, and systemic failures of policing, routinely experienced by Khayelitsha residents. And the minister tried, because the complaint was given to her in November 2011, and there were engagements. She tried to engage with the national minister and the national commissioner for more than 9 months for them to come on board for this commission to be established. But they did not want to be involved in establishing the commission. But then when she established it, they challenged it. One of the things I think in both the commissions that is settling enough and made a lot of people angry, made the Marikana community angry, made the Khayelitsha community angry, is the response from the leaders of the police, the leadership of the police, from the national commissioner, from the national minister, and even in Khayelitsha, from some of the station commanders in the police stations in Khayelitsha. We don't know exactly what happened yet, but I don't know if you know the story of Angie Peter and Isaac Huzian, who were arrested. Angie was one of the leading person who was involved leading up to the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry. She was accused of vigilantism together with her husband, Isaac Huzian. And she was arrested. She was pregnant at that time. She was arrested, taken to Posmo. And even when she was out on bail, police kept going to her house, kept harassing her, searching for drugs, saying that she sells drugs. And they had to leave when they were living in Fuleni to a hiding place. I don't know where Angie lives, but she's somewhere hiding from the police. But Isaac is back in Khayelitsha. So that's some of the way police tend to respond when such commissions are established. And a lot of ANC people or ANC leaders in Khayelitsha and nationally see this as an attack at the police, but this is not that. This is a way to try and improve the lives of the poor and working class people in Khayelitsha, to improve the working conditions of the police. Because this is not only blaming the police. We know that sometimes there's very little resources that police in Khayelitsha and other townships that they are given. There's very little training that they receive in order to do their work. They don't have many resources, and even the leadership doesn't really do much in terms of disciplining the police. And I think that's the same in Marikana. What you see is the National Commissioner standing up for some of the police, saying that they did nothing wrong in terms of disciplining them, and that's what happens in Khayelitsha police stations as well. We've seen lots of lives being lost in Marikana. We've seen lots of lives being lost in Khayelitsha, and still lots of lives continue to be lost in Khayelitsha due to vigilantism, due to the fact that people, residents of Khayelitsha, have lost faith in the criminal justice system, in the policing system, and they tend to take the law into their own hands. And that should be a wake-up call to the police that there is something wrong, and that's what the Commission of Inquiry is trying to say. And we know that the police are not the only problem, or it's not them that have the problem. And we know that there's quite a number of police who do their work with integrity and honesty. But this clearly needs to be investigated. And there are also other factors that, together with the City of Cape Town, which needs to be involved in this in terms of the services, the infrastructure, the roads, the lighting, so that police could do their work easy. And this is to say that it's not only a policing responsibility, but police are failing in a way in some of the work that that they do. And I think, again, one of the things which, me personally makes me angry is that a lot of my money, a lot of taxpayer money was wasted in the High Court, was wasted in the Constitutional Court by the Minister and the National Commissioner in challenging what is to help the police do the work better, not only for Khayelitsha, not only for Cape Town, not only for the Western Cape, but for the rest of the townships and poor working class people in South Africa. Thank you.
Thanks, Axel. We have Zakina.
So you have to excuse me, I'm a little asleep. But perhaps to start by saying that the Marikana Commission brought home to all of us what the police's role is expected to be in the country. And it's changed the public perception, again, of policing in our country. And that the police are both at the forefront of dealing with the greatest horrors in our society, as well as at the forefront of defending the state and defending corporations. And our job is to ensure that the police service is transformed. Lucas will speak more about that stuff, I hope. But what I want to start off is by talking a little bit more about why the Khayelitsha Commission. And many of you will remember that in December 2003, almost exactly 10 years ago, a colleague of ours and a comrade of ours, Lorna Mlofana, was raped and stabbed to death, beaten to death, her head kicked in, and so on, after the rapist discovered that she had HIV. That case took from 2003, and in 2007, the perpetrator was let out by Judge Foxcroft on appeal because it served 7 years. And it was alleged that he had kicked her in the head, and that wasn't an intention to kill. He kept on kicking her in the head, and that wasn't an intention to kill. Even though she was killed and people were shouting, kill her, kill her, kill her. And anyway, the real question is that that was not the only question. In 2008, the xenophobic violence again showed us that the police, even though at the beginning of the police, Petros was the commissioner, Zandile Petros was the commissioner, tried to ensure that people were protected, that the local police were actually in cahoots and colluding with xenophobic violence. And then also in 2006, another TAC member was 18 years old, was raped and killed, Nandipa Makeke. And again, it took 2 years, 30 or 40 hearings, activists having to go in hiding, the police not assisting, to ensure that there was justice for Nandipa's mother, elderly mother and father. A couple of years ago, my colleague Skari Klezel went into his wife, Zakiswa Klezel's here. He went to the bush to relieve himself, and he was robbed from his cell phone and stabbed in the face. And when the SJC started its work in 2010 on toilets, because the xenophobic violence led to the establishment of the Treatment Action Campaign, of the Social Justice Coalition. And the important thing that came out of that was that we wanted a country that was safe for everyone who lives in it. And the most pressing issue for working class communities in informal settlements was that safety, the most dangerous thing to do, is to go to a toilet, because you get robbed, raped, murdered on the way to the toilet. So that was an issue. To this day, the robber who was apprehended by the community, apprehended and handed over by the community, has not been sentenced for this crime. There are many, many, many cases which we're going to publish in a book on the history of the Commission. But I want to focus on an annexure in the Commission's in the court papers that was that the Minister of Police attached to the Commission. So Akolile mentioned that in the 9.5 months it was only this commissioner who responded, for the first time in 10 years that the police commissioner responded to civil society action. She sent down a national task team from the inspectorate and said, take a couple of days, and she asked the Premier for an extension. They came to meet with us, they said, give up the idea of the commission, we're going to investigate. We said we'd give you more time, we're not dropping the commission, this is the only thing we have of you. So, in the court papers, their task team report revealed that from the moment that someone reports a crime, there's a problem with data integrity. That most of the cases reported to the police could not be linked on a 10111 line, could not be linked to a case docket. Second, that when the police arrest people, and the police arrest about 1.6 million people in our country, when the police arrest people in Khayelitsha, the majority of them are kept for longer than 48 hours. Of those number of people, the majority of them can't be linked to a crime and are released. The third thing that it showed is that when it came to prosecution and conviction, there are at least 2 murders a day. There's at least 1 murder a day in Khayelitsha. And there's at least 3 to 5 rapes reported to the police in Khayelitsha. But when it comes to dealing with those crimes, there's hardly ever a conviction. That's what the police internal report shows. And what people mostly get convicted of or redirected for is the fact that they get arrested for pocket knives. So the majority of convictions, which show a really good performance statistic for SAPS Khayelitsha, is the fact that most people get arrested for pocket knives. And then, to top it all, there are more people being disciplined for everything relating from crime to shouting at people at the service station, including the most top officials in the police. There are more people disciplined than there are actually police in the police stations in Khayelitsha. Now, if you look at the difficulty that the commission have and we have, is the first thing is that the police are not responsible for crime. The police are not responsible for the horrible rape that happened in our community. Sometimes the police are perpetrators, but there's a much bigger problem there. And the biggest problem in creating safe communities is the fact that there aren't safe toilets, there aren't safe streets, there aren't safe playgrounds. And that is not a policing job. And we wanted a commission of inquiry that would have looked at that, as well as the other agencies of the criminal justice system. And regrettably, the Premier chose to leave out the City of Cape Town and the other agencies of the province. When it comes to oversight, she only has the police that she has oversight over. And the province has oversight over. So they can't bring in the prosecutions and the court system and so on. But when it comes to other agencies that need to ensure that the community is safe, my colleagues from Manenberg are here, and they can speak about the dangers, the lack of safety in Manenberg schools, the lack of safety in Khayelitsha schools, at Bloemco, and so on, where kids get stabbed all the time. They can't go to school, many kids sent out of the community. It is not the police who have control over the schools. It is not the police who have control over clinics. And it is not the police who have to provide decent public transport. So the question that we all have to say is that when we're looking at the Khayelitsha Commission of Inquiry, which on the 22nd of January will start its inspections in Loco, and I really appeal to everyone in Cape Town to attend that Commission of Inquiry, because a safe Khayelitsha will also mean a safe South Africa.